is Tyler. This year in Human Development, I learned so much, and the area I got asked to cover during our final project was the time frame of early childhood, 3 to 6 years of age. So I made a Prezi. On my first slide of my Prezi, I have my introduction. Here I kind of talk about, I just state again that the area I had was early childhood, which was 3 to 6 years old. The three major things being discussed in early childhood is that the physical development is happening, cognitive development, and social development are all happening. Those are three of the big things that happen during this time frame of life. I'm going to give you guys a poem, a couple photos, a video, some quotes, and even a monologue. So let's move on in. Here's my monologue I recorded, so listen carefully.
Early childhood is such a critical part in human development. The ages 3 to 6, there's so much going on that is so important to developing as a human. There's three major aspects that are going on. The first is a physical development, the second is a cognitive development, and thirdly, there's a social development. That's all happening during this time frame. The first is the physical development. The kids begin to exercise a lot more, and they want to exercise. Through activities like recess and playing sports, they start to develop their fine motor skills, and that allows them to do more things. Along with working out and getting their physical fitness up, their brains are also getting bigger and better too. With the cognitive development during this time frame, kids really start to increase their memory capabilities. They start to remember where things are, what things happen, and along those lines. Also, it's very important to surround your kids with positive influence, because at this time, kids start to learn by seeing. So they're going to watch others, and through that watching, they're going to be able to learn too. Also, during this time, their language skills are starting to increase dramatically. And with this, they're starting to effectively express themselves more. And that leads into the third area that's growing, the social developments. Because they can express themselves more, you can start to see that their personalities are starting to get shaped. They're starting to define who they are and who they want to be. Even though there's not a strong sense of morality, at this time, you can see that a sense of right and wrong is starting to happen. This is such an important time in human development because of those three factors. And that's why the early childhood is such a critical point.
So that was my monologue, just kind of saying a little more about what's happening during this time frame. And if you move further into my Prezi, we're going to have a movie clip. This first movie clip is about the early childhood. It's all quiet, so it's not going to have any words, but it's going to have a lot of important things for you to notice during the video. As you can see, all the kids are working together in groups, which is such an important part of early childhood development. You really start to work with others, learn how to work with others, and really learn how to work in a group. You can see them working on their writing abilities, which is furthering their ability with language, which is going to help them be able to talk more, understand better. The video is pretty long, but I'm going to move on and just say some of the things that you would have seen if you watched the entire video. You see the kids working with toys and other activities, and that's working on their fine motor skills, which you can see right here, which is something so critical at this point. As you can see, they're working on their writing abilities, like I said earlier, which is helping with their linguistic skills, which helps them be more effective communicators. It shows how they're working on their working memory. So as they're doing stuff, they're getting asked to repeat it and analyze it right then and there. They're starting to develop personalities with working with groups, as I showed earlier. And all the kids are learning by doing. So they're getting tasks and getting games, and that's how they're learning. There's another video here that's very interesting.
Healthy development of young children in the early years of life literally does provide a foundation for just about all of the challenging social problems that our society and other societies face.
What we're learning, not just from behavioral and developmental research, but also now from
exciting developments in neuroscience and molecular biology, just how much early experience from birth, in fact, even before birth, how much this experience literally gets into our bodies and shapes our learning capacities, our behaviors, and our physical and mental health. The brain.
That video is a little less fun. It's not as interesting, but what that video is really good for is telling you the science about what's happening during the childhood, what's happening inside the kids, inside their brains. That's not necessarily as fun as the first video, as seeing kids getting to play, but it's very informational. Some of the things that that clip really points out is that in this point of development, the kids are really starting to process emotions, and they're becoming socially competent. The kids are learning, their learning is at a high, because everything the kids are doing, they're learning from. That could be a negative influence or a positive experience. No matter what it is, positive or negative, they're still learning from it. So all things that the kids are doing, they're learning. It says that how stress is a big thing in kids' lives right now, just because a lot of times they don't know what's going on, and that can lead to negative learning. And the relationship between social and cognitive functions grow at this stage in life. So it's saying how the kids become smarter and able to learn more, the more that they're socially, they grow socially. Here is a quote from Andrew S. Gardner. It says, we see how early childhood experiences are so important to lifelong outcomes. How the early environment literally becomes embedded into the brain and changes its architecture. That's just talking about early childhood and how important it is for later in life. Here's another very interesting quote. How one handles success or failure is determined by their early childhood. This is just saying how it's so critical at an early childhood to get the base and the foundations right, because that's how kids are going to become successful later in life. Here's a poem that I read.
Listen Closely by Christine Brinsley. On Mondays, Billy didn't have his homework, and when the teacher asked him why, he said because a monster ripped it up after I told him a lie. You know monsters don't exist, the teacher said, and if you don't turn in your homework, no recess you will get. On Tuesday, Billy had a stomachache, and when the teacher asked him why, he said a monster took away my dinner, even my cherry pie. Billy, I told you once before, monsters are not real. You'll have to wait till lunch before you get a meal. On Wednesday, Billy had a bandage, which covered his right eye. When the teacher asked him what happened, this was his reply. A monster was running after me when I ran into the door. Billy, please, the teacher said, I don't want to hear it no more. On Thursday, Billy refused to sit down, and when the teacher asked him why, Billy said a monster whipped my bottom because I started to cry. Billy, the teacher said, this is getting out of hand. If you continue with these stories, in the corner you will stand.
So that's a very good poem. If you go into the present, you'll see what that poem is really talking about. At this age in life, kids are starting to be being able to express themselves. Even though their linguistic skills aren't that great yet, so sometimes you don't know exactly what they're saying, but they are trying to express what they're feeling. It also says how at this age it's so critical to surround your kids with positive influences, because those influences are going to determine what the child's going to be like later in life. And it's just also so important that teachers are positive in this time frame, because I want to be a teacher, and I know that at this age in life, teachers are one of the big influences in those kids, so you want to be positive role models. Here's another poem. It's a little different. It's not as meek and sad as the first poem, but what it's talking about is how kids are starting to develop their bodies and change, how it might be uncomfortable, but it's all natural because it's part of their physical development. It's also saying how no two kids are alike, which is very important because you need to treat all kids differently, but fairly. And my last slide in this prezi are the photos. There's 3 photos here, one to represent the physical development that's happening at this time frame, one to represent the cognitive, and one to represent the social changes that are happening. Throughout this class, I had a great time, and I learned so much.